Hey everyone, welcome to today's training. Today's training is all about bringing out the greatness in people that you lead. So as we go throughout this training today, we're going to talk about a number of different topics. Really, we're going to talk about four main key points. I'm going to go over those with you really quickly. Number one is creating the space for people to grow. Number two is creating clarity with intentions and goals. Number three is how to effectively communicate for follow through. That's a big one. If you have people who are not always doing what they say they're going to do, you want to stick around for number three. And then number four is creating a plan of action to support and not smother. So I'm excited to go through all of these training material with you today for this live training. I think we're going to have a couple people popping on here in just a minute. So while we're waiting for them, before we get into the training, let me just do a quick introduction of myself. My name is Jenny Stemmerman, and I'm the creator of Your Life Rocks. And I really created Your Life Rocks for working moms out there. It is a struggle sometimes to be a working mom, especially a working mom of faith. That can be something that's really, really difficult because we have our values and we know that God has to come first and our family has to come next. But then we have a career that we're super passionate about. And trying to balance all of that with a crazy busy schedule can be very, very difficult. Now, the reason why I'm so passionate about talking about leadership for working moms is because there's not a lot of working mom voices out there in the leadership space. A lot of the really great leadership mentors that I love and I have learned from over 20 years in leadership in the corporate world mostly are men. And even though some of them share my faith and some of their principles are really guiding principles in how I am as a leader, they don't have that same female voice, that same female overfold that goes in there. And a lot of the female leaders that I love and I've learned from, they're not always women of faith. And so I have to kind of filter some of the messages that they have. And that's why I want to do this training. That's why I've done so many of the podcasts, if you've listened to those on Your Life Rocks, really around leadership, to help working Christian moms of faith really grow in their leadership. So like I said, I've been in leadership roles for over 20 years and really both in different industries, a lot of different industries. The last 10 years of that have been working on the corporate side of network marketing companies, which is another level of leadership, really, because it's not just being a boss of a team. It's really being able to influence a volunteer workforce, people who are entrepreneurs, who they work when they want to work, how they want to work. So it's really up-leveled my leadership game, and I'm excited to pass on some of those tips and tricks for you today. All right, so let's dive into the training that we have. Like I said, today is all about bringing out the greatness in people that you lead. And I think that that really is the key of being a great leader, isn't it? It's really having that ability to look at someone and help them see themselves better than they actually are, to help them grow into the potential and the purpose that God has for their life. And I can't think of a better calling than to be a leader and a mentor for someone in their life. So let's cover off on the first step, the very first topic we're going to talk about, which is creating space for people to grow. Now, this is something that can be very hard, especially if you are an A-type personality. If you're someone who likes things the way you like things, this first step can be so difficult. And we mean well. I say we because I'm one of you. I am the same way. I sometimes have a hard time letting go of tasks and delegating. But when you remind yourself of your purpose, and your purpose is to help people grow, your purpose is to help them step into their greatness, it's a little easier to let go of some things. And so 3 things for you to consider as you're making this space for people to really step into their own greatness. Number 1 is to delegate. And like I said, that can be really, really difficult. And it's not just looking at your to-do list and saying, what can I pass on off my to-do list to someone else to make me a little bit more sane? I mean, that's one level of delegation. But when you're doing it with the purpose of pouring greatness into someone else, you should have a little bit more intentionality around how you delegate. So number 1 thing to do is to look at your team and really evaluate what they are strong in. You know, sometimes it's it's easy to get people to step into their greatness when they are able to do something great. So if you have things that you need to get done that they are naturally gifted in, that they're really strong in, why not delegate to them? Because they're going to get that done. They're going to get it done really well, and they're going to feel really good about it. And sometimes helping them feel really good about it is going to help them step into that greatness and help them develop a little bit more by building up that confidence muscle. You know, sometimes we can see things for people before they can see them for themselves. Give you an example. One time I was working with someone in the network marketing industry, and she was a dynamite leader. I mean, just really had sparkle, energy, amazingness about her, but she didn't quite see herself at the same level as some of her peers, some other people that were in the same company. Even though I did, I could see her there. But what we needed to do is we needed to create a space for her to be able to perform at that same level, to show up in that same way so that she could start to believe it and start to see it for herself. And so find for your team what that might look like for them. For her, it was putting her on stage in front of a certain number of people, because that for her was how she thought greatness was. So we created the space for her to live into that greatness by putting her on stage. So for whoever it is on your team that's in a corporate role, maybe it's having them lead a meeting. Because for them, if you're leading a meeting, you're obviously a leader. You're in charge of something. So if you want people to step up and start taking charge of things, give them that authority so that they can start taking control of those things. Delegate those things out. All right, number 2, don't be so quick to save. We learn so much through failure. Yes, failure. And I know that that can be a hard thing, right? To have someone fail at something. Not easy. Not easy at all. And if you're watching this and you're like, I don't want to fail. I don't want my leader to let me fail. But when you can fail in a controlled environment, like not something big that's going to be disasterly, right? It's just something small. It's just something that, they can recover from. That is something that they can learn from in a big way. So create those things for them that they can have those experiences to fail from. Give them little tasks that they will learn through trying to do. Sometimes they might feel over their head, but just assure them. And we'll be talking a little bit more about that as we go through this training on things you can do to assure them that you're there with a safety net. You're almost like a lifesaver, right? A lifeguard. Number 3 is give grace. Now, this is a really, really important one. And it's hard because we have our expectations and we like things the way we like things. But if you can give grace, that is the best gift that you can give to really help someone be able to step into greatness. So what does that look like? Lower your expectations, not what you communicate, and we're going to talk about that in a minute, but for yourself. Don't expect things to be done the way that you would expect them to be done. Allow there to be some white space. Allow them to have their own creativity, but give them grace over what it is that you're going to be getting back. All right, so that is point number 1, is giving them some space to grow. So now let's go into number 2 of helping people step into greatness, which is creating clarity with intentions and goals. Now, this one is very, very key, whether you are a leader on the corporate side or you are a leader in a network marketing industry. Helping have clarity around their intentions and goals are key, because not everyone wants what you want for them. You might want someone, you might see someone that you think, wow, this person can really take over my role if I got promoted. That might not be what they want. You might see someone and you're like, wow, that person can be an excellent leader in this industry. That might not be what they want. So the more you can get clear on what they want and what their intentions are really, really important. So let's talk about 3 things that you can do in order to create some of that clarity. Number 1, again, accept it. Accept that their goals are not your goals. Accept that they're not going to run as fast as you are. Maybe they'll run faster. Maybe they'll go slower. Maybe their skills are different than yours, but you have to accept that. Sometimes we can see ourselves in someone and we want them to do what we have done, but you have to accept yourself that that's not necessarily going to be the case for them. And that might take some journaling for you. That might take some internal work on your own self just to be able to have that acceptance. All right, number 2 is to ask. I know that sounds so simple, but but we don't always ask. We assume sometimes. And so we don't ask the right questions, asking them what it is that they truly, truly want. And as you're asking, this goes into step number 3, don't assume. So if, for example, you ask them what they want and their career goal is to do something completely different, don't assume that that's what they want to do right now. Ask them questions about what their timeline looks, what title it is that they're looking for, all of those things. Timeline probably being the most important thing to really discuss with them on what it is that they want, because it truly, truly is up to them and how much they want to go. Because if they really want to go fast, then you can set up the right structures in place to support that. And if they don't want to grow fast, then that's okay. Then that helps you to know if that's your compass to go somewhere else, right? And help support them in any way that they want. Because their greatness might not just be your level of greatness of what you envision for them. And that's okay. All right, number 3, how to effectively communicate for follow through. Now, this one is huge. And this has happened to me both on the corporate side of things and in network marketing. So sometimes we have certain expectations, right? And we think that we communicated them, but people don't follow through. And then you're sitting there saying, what happened here? I had an expectation and it didn't happen. They didn't step up. They didn't do what they were supposed to do. They didn't even do what they told me they were going to do. So there is sometimes that breakdown, and that can be one of the most frustrating things as a leader. And sometimes, this isn't necessarily one of the 3 points that we're going to dive into, but just a little extra one for you. Sometimes we really need to hold up that mirror to ourselves and say, okay, what did I do not wrong? Because I don't like using that word, but what could I have done differently? Did I not communicate clearly enough? Did I not provide enough guidance or direction? Did I maybe delegate something without actually training them how to do it? Or did I not give them grace if they said they didn't want to do it? So really shining that mirror back at yourself to see what you could have done to help them follow through. It's the easy road to say, well, they're just not meant for it, or it's not the right person, or whatever it is, and blame them. But as a leader, we always have to take responsibility first. So really shining that mirror back at yourself to see what you could have done differently. So with that said, let's talk about some things you could have done a little bit differently. All right, number 1 is give a clear expectation. As you're shining that mirror up, one of those questions to ask yourself is, did you give a clear expectation on what you wanted? You might not have. You might have thought you did, but did you really clarify with them, having them repeat it back to you on what needed to be done? Sometimes we can, in a conversation, kind of be talking about all these different things that we think we're setting a clear expectation, but if we don't revisit it at the end by saying things like, so you're going to do what? And when are you going to do it? And how am I going to know it's done? Things like that. That clarifies things, sets an expectation on timeline and exactly how things need to get done. Number 2 is put light on the white space. So let me tell you what I mean by that. Decide up front what things you're going to give them creativity. You're going to give them an ability to bring out their own true talent and run with things, have fresh ideas. Because there might be, say, for example, you're assigning them to do a teleconference or a webinar, that you might say, this is the topic that we need to cover. I need you to organize it. I need you to make sure it's in the system, make sure the invitations go out, all of these things. Those are the clear expectations. But then let them know how you want to market it is completely up to you. I'm giving you complete control over that. So if you have some fresh ideas you want to try, awesome. Maybe you're delegating them the content of the call. Maybe you're delegating them special speakers, but really shine the light on that and let them know very clearly what their expectation is, what it is that they can run with. Because I don't know about you, but I need to know where the boundaries are to play, but I don't need someone to tell me every single thing to do while I'm playing, right? I need to be able to have that freedom to trust my gut, to think of my own ideas, and that is how people grow. They need to know what the structure is. They need to know what the boundaries are, but they also need permission to play. They need permission to bring out their own strengths, to take those risks, to try new things. And again, that kind of circles back up to delegating, right? Giving them that clear structure in order for them to know what is solid and what is movable. And so that way they can really express themselves in that way. All right, so next one is what's in it for them. Again, tying it back up to their goals. So if you're working corporately, this sometimes can be a hard thing to do, right? Because we're delegating so much. And part of it, what's in it for you is you get a paycheck. That sounds harsh, but sometimes that's what it is. But as a leader, if you were to tell that to your team, that might not go over so super well. But just reminding them that for the promotion that they're shooting for, or the raise that they're hoping to have, this is one of those projects that you want to make sure you're documenting for your year-end review, so you can really have a leg to stand on to ask for that raise or that promotion. Maybe talking to them about, this is why I want you to do this, because it's going to develop these skills. Don't assume that they're just going to figure that out on their own. Even if they do, sometimes we want to hear that from our leader. We want to feel important from our leader, that they know those areas and that they're concerned about helping us grow. So communicate that openly with your team. All right, and that's 3 tips already for that one, but I'm going to throw in a 4th one, which is structure. Adding structure. Now, this is one of those parts of leadership that we don't often think about. We can communicate, say, for example, I need you to email this report to me by this time. And we think, well, that's a very clear expectation. But do they know where that report is? Do they know how to work that report? Do they know how to save that report and email it to you? Because some reporting systems, that's not so easy. Like if you're just working on an Excel doc, no problem. But I've worked with some reporting systems that's like, did it save? Did it not save? I don't even know how to do this. So make sure that your structures that you have in place, whether it be the reporting system, if you want them, if they're supposed to be jumping on a call and you like say the call's on Friday and you posted about it on Tuesday, and sometimes we have this mentality as a leader, like I posted on Tuesday, they should know to go back and find that and go back to it. Well, if you really want people to jump on the call and you want them to be on time, know that they're probably going from one meeting to another meeting. So why not shoot them a reminder with the link to the call right beforehand? You're, as the leader, responsible for their success in that way, to set up the structures that are going to lead to their success, to break down barriers and obstacles that are going to derail them from success. Does that make sense? Hopefully it does. Thumbs up if it does. All right, so number 4, creating a plan of action to support and not smother. How many of you have ever been smothered by a leader? Having them hover over you, constantly asking about projects, putting pressure on you to deliver. Maybe it's a number goal that they have to hit. And every single day as the leader, maybe it's been you in the past as the leader doing this. Maybe someone's done this to you in the past, where it's constantly every morning. Where are you? What are you doing? What are you doing? How are you doing on this? Where are you going to hit it? Do you think you're going to hit it? Do you think you're not going to hit it? What are you going to do to recover? That is smothering. It is not setting anyone up for success at all. So creating an action plan really is simple. This is probably the most simple one in what to do, but it's the hardest thing because it requires self-control. And that is something as a leader, it's super important that you develop both personal excellence and self-control, because those are qualities that are necessary to being a great leader. And not all leadership books and resources really talk about that. And it's so super important. So number 1, clarify what needs to be done. Again, clear expectation, clear expectation. I could say that all day long. Like that's just such a big part of leadership, is having a clear expectation for your people. Yet sometimes we forget that one. Number 2, ask how and when they want support or accountability to that. So for example, some people work better having a fire lit under them, right? Like they need like that daily, where are you at? How are you doing? They need that. Other people, it creates so much stress and anxiety for them that they get paralyzed and they can't do anything. So ask them what is going to work best for them. I mean, at the end of the day, you want them to be great, not fit into your little world, right? Like that, as a leader, sometimes we have to make that sacrifice to be able to really show up for people the way that we need them or they need us to show up for them. So identify for them what that is. Identify for them what accountability looks like and when it looks like. Maybe it's, once a day, can you send me a text and then can we talk on Friday? Great. Whatever they say, then you just really need to make sure that you show up for it. Now, sometimes this can require a courageous conversation. Now I'm going down a little bunny trail. But if they say, I'm good, like I'll just turn it in when it's due. If you inside know from either their past track record or the complexity of the project, if you just know like, that doesn't sit so well with me, then you need to be able to speak up for that. Because there is a fine line between just showing up and giving all to them and not paying attention to what needs to be done on the other side of that. So everything with leadership, I want you to think about like a pendulum. I wasn't planning on doing this exercise, so forgive me for my little, just the pencil here. But a pendulum, something that swings side to side. As a leader, you want to try to keep your pendulum in the middle as much as possible. But what happens sometimes is we swing it way too far one way, and then we're out of balance, right? And this goes for everything in life. And then, so what do? We want to course correct. Oh, I shouldn't have done that. So I'm going to do what? All the way over here. Still not balanced. You need to keep it here. So for example, for this, if they say, I'm good, I don't need any accountability, and you know that's probably not the best way to go, pendulum's over here if you honor that. But if you say, or not even communicate, and you just say, to yourself, okay, I'm just going to follow up with them every single day, even though that's not what they want, pendulum's now over here. You have to find that balance, something in the middle that works for everybody for accountability. Hope that makes sense. All right, last one is, again, respecting that agreement. And I mentioned that again because it really is important to have that self-discipline. And after, a little time goes by, depending on the project, it might be a day, it might be a week. If you're feeling like this is not working out for me, you need to have that courage to go back and have a conversation with them, to just be transparent. I love a transparent leader, to be able to say, you know what, like, this isn't working for me. I know this is what we agreed upon, but that's not working for me, and here's why. And then work out a new plan. All right, so we covered a lot so far in this training. A lot, I know. So thank you for everyone who's stuck on. If you're watching the replay, awesome. We talked about really everything about bringing out the greatness in the people that you lead. So the very first thing we talked about was creating space for people to grow, creating clarity with intentions and goals. Number 3, how to effectively communicate for follow through. That one is huge. And number 4, create a plan of action to support and not to smother. So hopefully that was helpful for you if you're watching this. I hope that some of those tidbits you can kind of take and run with. And really this is inspired from a new leadership course, a leadership coaching program that I'm launching starting November 14th. So if you are looking to grow in your leadership, whether you're on the corporate side of the world or you are an entrepreneur of some kind, that leadership is something that you just want to grow in. It's something that you're passionate about. I invite you to join in on this course. There are 2 different levels. There is a self-study option that has a 45-minute coaching session. And then there's the elite coaching option where you really get a lot of time with me in addition to the coursework. We'll talk every single week to really customize the lessons to you, to your industry, and to where you are in your leadership. One of the other things that comes with the elite coaching package, which I'm super excited about, is a 360 feedback. And so if you've never done a 360 feedback, it truly can be one of the most impactful things in your leadership career ever. Because we all have blinders. We all have things that we can't see. We all have these stories that we've told ourselves about who we are as a leader. Doing a 360 feedback, you get feedback through me, not directly from anyone, but always through me, from people that are below you in leadership, your peers, and then people that are above you in leadership. So they fill out kind of a feedback on what your strengths are, your areas of opportunity, how you respond to stress, things like that. And it's all anonymous, but it comes back to me. And so I'll know if they're below you, their peers, or above. And then we'll be able to have a coaching session around that to really develop a plan of action for you to really grow and be the best leader to pour greatness in other people that you truly can be. Now, the whole course, let me just talk about how it's delivered, talking about structure. Everyone is busy, right? So this course really is at your own pace, but it is 5 weeks long. So what it looks like is every week you have a video and you'll receive a workbook as well as 5 audio trainings. The audio trainings are anywhere between 20 to 30 minutes long, and it's a different lesson every single week. Those lessons then correspond to the workbook. So you can expect probably about an hour of study a day. Again, you can listen to the audio while you're working out or while you're commuting, so you can kind of multitask that piece, and then expect another 30 minutes or so in the workbook. So that is something I'm super excited. Again, it happens on November 14th. If you want more information on that course, I'll put a link down in the comments as soon as this is done. But it is called Authentic Impact. So you can go to yourliferocks.com/authentic impact. And then if you're curious about, like, is this going to be the right course for me? I'm not sure. I'll also put a link down below where we can schedule a quick 15-minute coaching call just to figure out if it's going to be the best fit for you. So like I said, it's 5 weeks long. Let me talk about the five topics that we'll be diving into. So the very first module is all about self-awareness. So there are some assessments that you'll be taking both to find out your spiritual giftings and Myers-Briggs personality, just to really figure out where your natural strengths and areas of opportunity are. We all have those things. I'm a huge proponent on building on strength. So that will be a big part of that first week, is really getting to know who you are as a leader and how you can come up with an action plan to really play up your strengths and get to where you want to be for your leadership. Week 2 is all about personal excellence. Like I said, self-discipline, personal excellence. We talked about all those things today during this training. Those are all so critical and important. And so week 2, we're diving into all of that. And you know what? Sometimes there's been times in the past that personal excellence have held me back from being promoted because no one wanted to fill my job. If you listen to some of the recent leadership podcast episodes, I share that story. So personal excellence truly is something that is critically important. And so if you think self-awareness or personal excellence, you're kind of thinking, well, I want like the meat and potatoes. There's nothing more meat and potatoes than that. In fact, Gary Vee did a recent talk that was, pretty impactful and kind of went everywhere about how he feels like the number one thing for leaders is self-awareness. If you know, like, emotional intelligence, if you know, like, what you're good at, what you're not good at, how you come across to people, all those things, that is what sets you apart from other people. So that's really critically important. Number 3 is all about leadership habits. Consistency in habits and what you do for your team makes or breaks you. It builds trust. It doesn't build trust if you don't have it. So we spent a whole week talking about the leadership habits that you can really implement for your life. Then we have number 4, week 4, which is really all about structures of influence and communication. So that week is really, really important. Again, we talked a little bit about that in today's training, about having those structures in place, because sometimes we don't realize that we have built structures that are holding people from being successful, and we wonder why they're not stepping into their greatness. And communication is so critically important. So we'll spend a week talking about that. And then the last week is my favorite week. It is all about coaching greatness. So I'll be sharing with you some tips, tricks, templates, and patterns that you can really put in place to coach people to be the best that they can be. So again, if you're interested in learning more about that course, you can go to yourliferocks.com/authentic impact or click the link down below to schedule some time with me to see if that's going to be the best fit for you. Thank you so much for joining me today on this training. It was a little bit of a long one, so I hope you save the video, go back and watch it, maybe watch it in chunks so that you can make sure you get everything there. All right, have a fantastic rest of your Tuesday, everyone. Talk to you later. Bye.